The nurse smiled when she saw me. "Room 204, she said gently. My hands were sweating through the bouquet I brought. Blue roses, Melissa's favorite. I'd rehearsed this moment in my head for months. The hospital corridors echoed beneath my boots as I walked toward the room that would define the rest of my life. But nothing could have prepared me for what I saw through that window. There was my wife, Melissa, lying in the hospital bed. Still glowing, beautiful, flawless. Too flawless. Too composed. She wasn't even looking at me. Her eyes were on him. Her boss, Ethan Carmichael. Armani suit wearing, teeth too white Ethan. Holding my baby. Or who I thought was mine. He cradled the child like he'd done it 1,000 times. And she didn't flinch. She didn't reach for her baby. She didn't reach for me. She reached for his hand. That's when the nurse said it. Casually. Like it was nothing. "Mr. Bennett, I'm sorry. There's been a clarification on the birth record. You're not listed as the father." The roses hit the floor like bricks. I didn't scream. I didn't ask questions. I just looked at her through the glass. Melissa saw me. She knew I heard. And she smiled, like I'd walked in on her watching her favorite sitcom. Then she leaned her head back and laughed. Laughed. At the moment my world came crashing down. I opened the door. The room went still. Ethan shifted, trying to shield the baby. Melissa tilted her head like I was the unexpected entertainment. My heart was thundering in my chest, but my voice came out cold. "Steady. Congratulations," I said, "on finally making your boss a father. But let's be clear, you just became a full-time employee of Karma." Silence. Even the baby stopped crying. That was the first moment Melissa stopped smiling. Her face dropped like a mask torn off. I stepped forward slowly, picked up the envelope from my coat pocket, and placed it on the table. Inside were the DNA results. The ones I had done the moment I noticed the timeline didn't add up. 8 months pregnant. Not 9. I'd been on a business trip during the window of conception. I knew, but I needed proof. Melissa didn't even look at the envelope. "Are you done?" she snapped, her voice dripping with that bitter superiority she'd perfected over the last year. "Are you seriously making my delivery about you?" Ethan looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. I looked her dead in the eyes. "No, Melissa. I'm making it about the truth. Something you stopped using the moment you started staying late at work." Her eyes narrowed, venom flashing. "Get out." I turned, walked past the nurse who looked like she wanted to vanish. The hallway was still. Cold. I could feel the world I'd built collapsing behind me brick by brick. Vows. Trust. Dreams. All of it turned to ash. But I didn't look back. Because part of me already knew this was just the beginning. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of my hotel bed, still in the same clothes I'd worn to the hospital. The envelope with the DNA results was lying on the nightstand, already opened. I didn't need to look at it again. I had the words burned into my memory. Probability of paternity, 0%. I had to read it 3 times when I first got the call. The lab technician even asked me if I wanted to rerun the sample, just to be sure. But I already was. Deep down, I'd known the truth for weeks. Maybe longer. It all started when Melissa's work hours became unpredictable. The firm had landed some new corporate account, and suddenly her phone was blowing up at all hours. She'd leave the bedroom to take calls at midnight, whispering behind closed doors. If I asked questions, she'd snap, accuse me of not trusting her. I thought I was going crazy. At first. Then there were the business trips, always with Ethan. They'd be gone for weekends at a time. No texts. No updates. Just her coming back with that smug look like she had nothing to explain. The perfume on her clothes didn't match her usual brand. Once, she left her laptop open, and I saw a calendar invite for a hotel dinner, just her and Ethan. When I brought it up, she turned it into my problem. "Oh my God, you're being so insecure. Ethan's like a mentor to me. Just because you're some small-time contractor doesn't mean I should stop growing my career." That's how she always did it. Deflect, belittle, and twist. Every time I tried to bring up the inconsistencies, she made it about me being jealous, controlling, or paranoid. But something snapped inside me after she got pregnant. The timeline was too tight. I was gone the entire window she should have conceived. But she insisted the due date was early. "Not every pregnancy follows a textbook," she said. God, read a book for once. So I smiled, nodded, waited. Behind the scenes, I ordered the test. I played the supportive husband role. I paid for the baby shower, took photos for her Instagram, let her post captions like "can't wait to meet our little miracle," while knowing damn well that miracle came from somewhere else. And the worst part? I wanted to be wrong. Even with everything I suspected, Part of me hoped I was just overthinking. That maybe I'd miscounted the days. That maybe I was the father. But I wasn't. And now the entire city probably knew it too. The celebration at the hospital, her coworkers, friends, family, they were all there. They heard my words. They saw her face. The laughter stopped cold, and for the first time in our relationship, she didn't have a comeback. She had nothing. And yet, I still couldn't sleep. Because betrayal isn't just a knife, it's a slow burn that eats you alive from the inside out. Melissa hadn't just cheated on me. She made me love a lie. 2 days after the hospital, I returned to her house not to stay, but to collect what was mine. My lawyer had already begun drafting the divorce papers. I just wanted to grab the essentials: clothes, tools, documents. When I pulled into the driveway, her car wasn't there. Good. I didn't want another scene. Not yet. The front door still had the wreath she put up for the baby's arrival. Home sweet home, it read in golden cursive, decorated with pastel ribbons. I almost laughed. Nothing about that house felt sweet anymore. Inside, it was spotless. Like she had scrubbed every surface to erase any trace of guilt. But that's the thing about betrayal, it leaves fingerprints no soap can reach. I went straight to the bedroom. That's when I saw it. Her phone, left charging on the nightstand. It was unlocked. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. But I did. Because part of me still needed the full picture, the kind of pain that confirms what the heart already suspects. The first message was from Ethan. Miss you already. Baby looks just like me, winking face. When can I see you again? There were photos. Private ones. Not just of them together. Of her posing, teasing, moaning through text. Dressed in the lingerie I bought. On the bed we shared. Then voice notes. One of them was her whispering. God, Ethan, I wish I met you before I wasted all those years with him. Wasted. Years. With me. I nearly crushed the phone in my hand. I scrolled through more messages. They'd been seeing each other for almost a year and a half. Dinner dates disguised as late meetings. Office retreats that turned into weekend getaways. Every memory she gave me during that time tainted. Rotten. But there was more. She wasn't just cheating emotionally or physically. She was scheming. Screenshots of our joint bank accounts. Conversations about property values. Even a draft prenup she had forged with a fake signature in case I got stubborn during the divorce. She was planning my exit before I ever knew I had to leave. That wasn't just cheating. That was warfare. I left the house without touching another thing. Not my clothes, not my photos, not the books I loved. I didn't want her to say I stole a damn thing. I left the phone right there on the pillow, screen still lit up, Ethan's smug grin staring back. When I reached my truck, I took one last look at the house. Our home. The place where I thought I'd raise a child. Grow old. Watch sunsets from the porch. Now it was just another crime scene. And she was the weapon. She called at night. I let it ring. She called again. Then left a voicemail. Logan, stop being dramatic. You embarrassed me at the hospital. You didn't have to say that in front of everyone. You could have handled it like an adult. Like an adult? The audacity. I didn't respond. The next morning, I got a message from her mother. Please talk to Melissa. She's very upset. She didn't mean for this to happen this way. Didn't mean for what to happen? To get caught? To parade her boss and baby like some twisted fairy tale? She didn't mean for me to find out before she finished rewriting the script of our lives? That afternoon, she showed up at my hotel uninvited. I opened the door and stared at her, still in full makeup, as if she was dressing for a courtroom, not an apology. She had our baby in her arms. No ring on her finger. Can I come in? She asked, like this was just some minor misunderstanding. I stepped aside. She didn't sit. She paced. Typical Melissa commanding the room. Even now. I get that you're angry, she began, but you need to understand. Things haven't been working between us for a long time. You've been distant. And Ethan, he was there for me when you weren't. Melissa, I said slowly, I was working 60-hour weeks to pay for your car, your lifestyle, and that house you wanted so badly. Distant? I was exhausted from carrying everything while you were sneaking off to hotel rooms with your boss. Her face twitched. She didn't like being challenged. Never had. I was lonely, she snapped. You don't know what it's like, being with someone who's emotionally unavailable. I laughed bitterly. You mean someone who didn't shower you with constant praise while you played house with another man? Silence. She shifted the baby, who started to fuss. Look, she said, softening her voice. I didn't plan this. It just happened. Ethan didn't mean for it to go this far either. We didn't expect to fall in love. Fall in love. That phrase stung like a bullet to the chest. And the baby? I asked. Were you ever going to tell me? Or was I just going to raise him while you played pretend? She didn't answer. That was my answer. I want full custody, I said flatly. Her head jerked up. You're not even the father. But I would have been. I was ready. You weren't. She blinked rapidly, but no tears came. You're a monster, she hissed. You're trying to ruin my life just because I found happiness somewhere else. I stepped forward and looked her dead in the eyes. No, Melissa. You ruined your life. I'm just walking away from the wreckage. She stood frozen for a second, then grabbed the baby carrier and stormed out. That was the last time she ever looked at me with power in her eyes. Because from that moment on, I wasn't her fool anymore. The divorce moved faster than I expected. I'd hired a lawyer known for being merciless. A woman named Dana Cross, cold, sharp, terrifying in court. She listened to everything. Every message. Every file. Every lie. When I handed her the forged prenup Melissa and Ethan drafted behind my back, she didn't blink. Just said, she's going to regret underestimating you. I didn't even want the house anymore. Too many ghosts in the walls. But Dana said, we take it. We take everything they thought they could build together, brick by brick. So we did. Melissa fought back at first, tried to negotiate, begged for joint custody of the dog, then claimed I was emotionally abusive, that I isolated her. Her lawyer tried to paint me as cold and controlling. But screenshots don't lie. Voice memos don't lie. DNA tests definitely don't lie. Ethan tried to stay behind the curtain, but once the documents became public, his name was everywhere. The media got wind of it. Office affair. Married executive. Scandal. Melissa lost her job within the week. Turns out, Ethan was married too. His wife filed for divorce the moment the story hit the news. The baby they thought would cement their love? Now a legal tug-of-war between two disgraced people with reputations in flames. I didn't say a word publicly. Not once. But behind the scenes? I bought a cabin in Montana. Quiet. Isolated. Peaceful. My phone barely works there, and I like it that way. I started sketching again. Building. Breathing. Meanwhile, Melissa's world collapsed. She messaged me once, weeks after the court settled everything. The message was short. I miss how simple it was with you. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I missed her, but because it confirmed everything. She never wanted me. She wanted comfort. Control. A stage to stand on while I held the spotlight. And when someone richer, sleeker, flashier came along, she replaced the man, but not the story. Melissa didn't fall in love. She upgraded her illusion, and it backfired in high definition. I didn't reply to the message. Didn't block her either. Some people deserve to see how far they fall when they try to fly on lies. One night, I ran into a mutual friend, Rachel, someone who always tried to stay neutral. She asked me, how are you holding up after everything? I smiled. Genuinely. Better than ever, I said. Because I'm finally free of a war I didn't know I was fighting. She nodded and said quietly, she never deserved you. And for once, I believed it. A few months passed. The chaos faded, but the echoes remained. Every time I opened a drawer and saw something she picked out, it was like a mosquito bite on a scar, small, but sharp enough to remind me that healing isn't always peaceful. I had a habit of rereading the DNA report at night, not because I needed proof anymore, but because I wanted to remember. Not the betrayal itself, but how blind I'd been to it. How willing I was to believe love meant sacrificing my own intuition. That paper wasn't just science, it was my wake-up call. I deleted the last photo of us together. It was taken at a Christmas party the year before. She was wearing red lipstick, hanging on my arm, smiling like she hadn't already burned our marriage to the ground behind my back. I'd looked at that photo for months, trying to find signs. Now I saw it for what it was: performance art. Nothing more. One day, I got a call from Ethan's wife, ex-wife now. Her name was Claire. We'd never spoken before. I thought you deserved to hear it from me, she said. Her voice was calm, deliberate. He's already seeing someone new. A paralegal from his office. I didn't laugh, even though I wanted to. Instead, I just said, that tracks. Claire paused. Then, you ever wonder if they even feel guilt? I thought for a moment. No. I think people like them only feel regret when they lose power. Guilt requires a conscience. And that's not in their toolbox. We ended the call respectfully, two former strangers with shared wreckage between us. That weekend, I cleaned out the attic. Melissa's journals were still there, boxed up with her college trophies and yearbooks. I almost threw it all out, But curiosity is a wicked thing. I opened one journal at random. March 14th. Just weeks before the affair began. Logan is sweet but predictable. I don't think he even sees me anymore. I feel like I'm suffocating in his version of happiness. Ethan makes me feel noticed. Wanted. Like I matter. I shut the book. Predictable. That's what she thought of me. A man who fixed her car in winter, brought her soup when she was sick, took her to every doctor appointment while she carried another man's child. Predictable. But maybe she was right. Because I never saw the venom behind her smile. Never expected betrayal to wear perfume and heels and call me baby before kissing my cheek and lying through her teeth. I threw the journal in the fireplace and watched it burn, page by page. That night, I didn't dream of her. For the first time in years. And in the silence that followed, I realized something. Sometimes, peace doesn't arrive with closure. It arrives with distance. And the decision to never let anyone write over your worth again. The snow came early that year. I was out by the cabin, stacking firewood when the silence hit me, not the kind that's empty, but the kind that feels earned. You don't realize how loud betrayal is until it's gone. The constant tension, the fake smiles, the manipulation behind every "I love you." Now, all I heard were birds and wind and my own breath. I kept thinking about the man I used to be. The one who apologized when she forgot things. The one who stayed up until 2 a.m. to build a crib for a child he didn't make, with a woman who called him suffocating in private. That man had died at the hospital the moment Melissa laughed through the glass. The man left behind had no space left for illusions. I didn't date, didn't drink, didn't rage. I rebuilt. Rebuilding doesn't sound sexy. It's not a movie montage with upbeat music and inspirational speeches. It's waking up at 6 a.m. and making coffee without crying. It's throwing out the plate she used to love because you don't want to see it anymore. It's learning how to cook for one and eventually liking it. It's stillness. One morning, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A letter, handwritten, in the loopy cursive I hadn't seen since our wedding invitations. Melissa. The envelope sat on my table for 2 days. On the third, I opened it. I've made so many mistakes. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. Not for what I did, but for what I ruined. I ruined you. I ruined us. And I don't sleep through the night anymore. There were more words. Pages of them. Remorse dressed in poetry. Regret coated in self-pity. I folded the letter, lit a match, and let it join the journal in the fire. Her guilt was not my responsibility. Not anymore. That same afternoon, I got a knock at the cabin door. It was Claire. She had been passing through, she said. Wanted to see the mountains. Thought maybe we could get coffee. We sat on the porch in silence for almost 20 minutes, watching the sky turn the color of bruised lavender. She didn't mention Ethan. I didn't mention Melissa. We just talked about books, about life, about how quiet can feel like music after enough chaos. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about who wronged me. I was thinking about who I could become now that the noise was gone. Sometimes revenge is just survival. And sometimes the best closure is no longer needing any. It's been a year now. 12 months since the glass window. Since the laughter. Since the roses hit the floor. And you know what? I don't think about her every day anymore. That realization came quietly. I was chopping vegetables one evening, radio humming in the background, when I suddenly noticed it had been days, maybe weeks, since Melissa's name had even crossed my mind. There was no rage left, no grief, no bitterness. Just space. Empty, but calm. She texted me again last month. One of those, hope you're doing okay, messages that sound harmless but drip with ulterior motives. I didn't answer. Not out of pettiness. Out of peace. I finally understood that closure wasn't something she could give me. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even revenge. It was this, knowing I'd never let someone like her define me again. I don't hate her anymore. I pity her. Because she traded loyalty for lust, a future for a fling, and a partner for a paycheck. And when the consequences came knocking, she realized she was never built for the weight of real life, only the illusion of winning. Meanwhile, I kept building. The cabin's finished now. Fully furnished, warm, and quiet. I installed a wood-burning stove, planted a small garden, even carved a few pieces of furniture myself. Every inch of it carries my effort. My story. My fingerprints. Sometimes, Claire visits. We don't talk about what happened. We don't have to. There's something healing about sitting beside someone who knows your kind of damage. Someone who doesn't look at your scars like warnings, but like weathered maps of where you've been. We fish in the nearby stream. We cook. We read. It's not romantic, at least not yet. But it's real. And after everything, real feels like a miracle. If you ask me what I've learned, it's this. Never hand your loyalty to someone who treats it like a disposable gift. Pay attention to patterns, not promises. And if something feels off, trust your gut. Your heart may love blindly, but your soul always knows the truth. I used to think love was measured by what you were willing to forgive. Now I know. It's also about what you're no longer willing to accept. To anyone out there going through what I went through, listen carefully. You will survive this. Not because it doesn't hurt. Not because justice will always be served. But because you'll eventually see that their betrayal said everything about them and nothing about your worth. You are not broken. You are not unlovable. You are just learning what not to tolerate. And one day, when the fire dies down and the smoke clears, you'll see the truth written in the ashes. They didn't break you. They freed you.